welcome, Miss Debbie.
Thank you, Tori.
No worries. Most people, again, they know you as Michael Phelps' mom, but we would love to hear more about your personal journey. Can you tell us a little bit about your childhood and the experiences that shaped who you are today?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me this evening. And it's a pleasure to be here, Tori, to be able to share my story. When I look back in 1951, a few years ago,
No way.
when I was born in Western Maryland, in Allegheny County, up in the mountains, it was Appalachia. Didn't realize that, really. Had no idea. My mom and dad were so in love with each other. Dad was we were a blue collar family. Dad was a construction person. Mom was a stay-at-home mom. Nothing wrong with that. But she turned down a scholarship to Peabody. Why? Because she loved my dad.
Mm.
And she wanted to be with him, not bad, and wanted to have children, which she did. So when I came into the world in 1951, I had one sister, Donna, who was 7 years old. And my mother had this thing about having Donna, 7 years, Debbie, 7 years, Amy, and then a change of life baby. So she was always at home having her children and raising the children and making our family so important to us. Church was very important. Every Sunday we went to Sunday school. We sang in the choir. She was the choir director. And when you were born in Westernport, you were going to stay in Westernport. That's one thing my mom and dad didn't want to happen to us. They wanted us to go on to colleges and universities. So when you take a look at Westernport, there was the Tri-Towns, which was Piedmont, West Virginia, Luke, Maryland, and Westernport, Maryland. There was a mill there. Everyone worked at the mill. Everyone worked at the mill. When your father worked there, your son worked there, your grandson worked there. It was generational. And what did women do? Well, when I was born and going into college or into a career, you were either a teacher, a secretary, or a nurse. Didn't want to be a nurse. No hospitals, couldn't do that. I was going to get married to that little boy that I dated, and I was going to go to the mill, and I was going to be a secretary, and he was going to work at the mill. Not my mom's size, not my dad's size. We were going to leave. So my sister went to Frostburg State. I went to Fairmont State, following my boyfriend at the time. And we had no money. No money. I made friends with financial aid office. I made friends with my instructors and professors. I made friends with my pastor. Because I needed to be able to put myself through school. So when I graduated from high school in '69, my father was dying, which was really difficult for me because I was daddy's little girl. We watched football together every Sunday. I sat on his lap. I went to work with him sometimes and to ride in that truck with him, and I felt so proud of that.
Wow.
So I went to a community college my first year, and as he was slowly dying of cancer, he said to me, "Debbie Sue, you go off to school now. You go make it big. You go do what we expect you to do." So off to Fairmont State I went, and I graduated there in 1973. 73, I got married to that high school sweetheart that I followed to college. I probably could have gone to Maryland with the tuition I paid for out-of-state tuition at Fairmont. But I made sure I had financial aid friends. That I got Pell Grants and things of that nature. I got jobs at the nickel to be able I scooped ice cream. I did whatever I could do to put myself through school. So when you take a look at those years, school meant a lot to me. I love my teachers, I love my principal, I love my community, I love my church, I love my town. But I really didn't realize how poor we were. You know, my siblings and I, we talk now and reflect a lot about growing up in Westernport. And my sister Donna said to me, she said, "Do you remember getting the food basket at Christmas time?"
No.
She She said, I was at Scouts, and they were collecting food for food baskets. Next thing I knew, they were at our house delivering it to us.
Wow.
But poverty wasn't something that we had in our home because there was so much love and joy and togetherness. So growing up, Tori, was something that was very near and dear to my heart. I was back there last weekend to a high school reunion, and I walked down Main Street, which is desolate. It's so sad. The mill is gone. It's sad to see where you grew up,
Yeah.
but it gave me so much. It was like Friday Night Lights. Everyone was, at the football game, cheering, having a great time, but we were poor.
Your story touches so many things: vision, intentionality, perseverance, family, love. I think almost everyone in here, even though I had a son when he met me, my husband is in the background back there. He's my first boyfriend. Don't tell him that. He's my only boyfriend I've ever had. And I have a 2-year-old who's a change of life baby, even though I'm only 25. And
I'm 26.
26, so you understand. And one thing we were just recently talking about is the restoration in West North Avenue of the Walbrook Mill. So Mel has the awesome opportunity as the Coppin Heights CDC executive director. They've poured so much money in that corridor to restore the mill that many of our uncles, grandfathers worked in. I thank you for that. I thank you for your transparency.
Well, remembering, going down that street and the holiday decorations, and everyone was happy and loving each other and out in the streets, but there's no one there now.
And that's heartbreaking. If anything Miss Debbie shared connected to you, look to your neighbor and say, I can relate. See?
Yes, absolutely.
We can relate.
Absolutely.
So you go on and you marry your honey bunny and you have children, but then you get divorced because this is real life. Unfortunately, it isn't Hallmark.
I thought it was going to be.
This is more like HBO.
You got it.
Where we get to have real life, real conversation. So after your divorce, you were navigating life as a single parent. And I just want to know, what were some of the biggest challenges during that time, and how did you navigate those? I'm sure while you were in it, it felt like it would never get any better. But today, you're a living testament that it did get better. So how did you navigate?
I married my high school sweetheart. He was my prince in shining armor. But when a home is filled with substance abuse, alcoholism, depression, when there's an issue that you cannot resolve because you're too proud to go and get help, then someone has to do something. So I decided to separate from my high school sweetheart. And we divorced. And I was so ashamed and embarrassed. A sidebar, Tori. I was a home economics teacher.
Really?
Just kind of crazy. Back in the days, 73 I said, shop, home economics, that kind of stuff. So to me, I was the epitome of holding a family together. I knew exactly what to do. I knew what to bring into the home. Yeah. And I felt like I was a failure. And I was afraid to tell people. It was society. It was the stigma. That when you're divorced, that's like a bad thing to do.
Yeah.
But you had to take a hold of an issue and you had to address it. So I wanted to make sure that either, if we couldn't get together as a family, that my children were going to be taken care of. And that's what we did.
It makes sense. Again, if you can relate, look to your neighbor and say, I can relate. Many of us can. My life has been more like Showtime, but still, I can relate.
But Tori, then at a certain point, my family life became global.
Yes.
Everyone knew what the Phelps Center was doing if you were an Olympic follower and fan.
Yeah.
So it wasn't anything that you could really hide. Not that you wanted to hide it, because you were thriving and you were being successful.
Yeah.
But everyone knew
what you had going on. And I think social media does that now.
Oh my gosh.
And there may be someone in the room who feels like, I don't even want to go to my phone or go to my computer because of that shame that you mentioned. And again, it feels like the thickest, darkest times. But we have a living testament and a testimony that times get better and trouble does not last always.
That's very
So
true.
we are excited
Very
to
true.
just be encouraged by your testimony.